Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel once again. And today we are just going to learn how to draft a basic bodies blog. Okay, so I'm not going to waste any time, I'm just starting. So we have our measurements from the shoulder to waistline. Okay, that's what we are dealing with for this episode. So our back is 10 inches, and mind you, this is a standard measurement for kids below the ages 7. Okay, so we have back to be 10 inches, our bust is 23 inches, waist is 19.5 inches, and our shoulder to bust is 7 inches. Shoulder to waist measures 11 inches. Okay, so we're about to start. So before we begin, we have two faces of the pattern. We have the front and then the back. So what we are going to deal with first, or right now, is the front. We are going to need our back for this part. Okay, and before you start, after knowing the measurements of your back, which is 10 inches, that's what I'm using right now, you are going to divide that 10 inches into 2. You are dividing the 10 into 2, giving you 5 inches. So you are going to measure from wherever you are starting. Okay, let me draw a border line before we continue. So this is the line that shows where I'm starting from. I'm just going to measure my 5 inches, okay, right here, down here to here. So I began by saying, when you are about to draft your bodice block, you are first going to divide your back by 2, and our measurement here is 10 inches. So we are going to divide that 10 inches into 2, which is 5, and that is what you are starting with. So after determining the position of your 5 inches, you are just going to draw horizontal line. So you are just going to cross it like this. This is the line you are getting over here. Let me make it as bold as possible. This is the line you are getting here. And make sure whatever that you are drafting is very correct, very precise, very accurate, okay? So I have it correct as 5 inches. I'm repeating myself again. I began by dividing my back into 2. My back was 10. So by dividing it, I had 5 inches, and that is what I am starting with. Okay. So after this, I'm going to draft out our neck. We are not using French curves here because I don't want to make anyone feel like you can't draft a basic bodice block without a French curve, because I'm teaching you how to do this without a French curve, and I'm not using any of those. To measure or to have my neckline, the measurement we will be using is 2 inches. 2 inches, okay. The standard body measurement for a bodice block of children below 7 years is 2 inches. So I'm going to stand with my tape measure on my borderline and then measure out my 2 inches. I come down as well on my borderline, measure the 2 inches. Do exactly what I'm doing right here too. And then I'm just going to cross it. When you are done, you'll be getting a square. Okay. So this is exactly what I have now. And I'm placing my tape measure on each horizontal line I have made to make sure that I have everything accurate, because it is this pattern I will use to sew the dress. Whatever pattern you are using, it is what you are going to still use to sew the dress. So you have to make sure that everything you are doing on the pattern is correct. Okay. To get my neckline, we are going to stand at this point and measure out 1/2 inch. This is my 1/2 inch here, right here. And I'm just going to curve it out in my box to get the neckline. Now we are moving on to the shoulders. This line in particular is what we are going to use right now. At the end of the line, you are coming to measure down 1/2 inch. You are measuring down. This is the continuation of your 5 inches right here. And this is the end of the 5 inches. At that end, you are going to measure 1/2 inch downward, 1/2 inch downward, and that is exactly what I have done here. So I'm just going to make a vertical line toward that 1/2 inch mark, and then I am going from this point right here towards that 1/2 inch to get the slant of the shoulder, because our shoulders are not as straight as we think. It is a bit slanted, so that is why the slant is also appearing in this pattern that we are drafting. I repeat by saying at the end of the 5 inches, you are going to measure 1/2 inch downward. You rule a vertical line, preferably, you can choose not to, and then you will just connect from this point to your 1/2 inch to get the slant of the shoulder. After getting the slant of the shoulder, you are going to measure your armhole depth. Okay, I forgot to mention that as well as part of the measurement. So we are going to be using 5 inches for our armhole depth, because that is the standard measurement for children or kids below the age of 7. The English is heavy. So I'm going to connect that like this. Like this, okay. So this is my armhole depth. I'm measuring again to make sure that I have the measurements correct. Proceed by moving outward of that line, which is 5 inches. We are going to proceed by moving outward this side, okay? With 1 inch. You are moving 1 inch outward. Extend the line as well, because we are going to use this part for our allowance, so you will need to extend the line. So after marking out your 1 inch, you are going to stand at this point again and measure half an inch. I'm doing this because we are going to need to make a curve from your armhole measurement, because the armhole is not straight. This line is just preparing as or serving as a way to get your armhole curve. So with this 5 inches that you've had here, you are going to divide it by 2. Okay, let's go over. First of all, I said you are going to need your back. That's what you are starting with. And I said my back was 10. And I divided my back into 2, giving me 5. And that is what I had from here to here. From here to here. After that, I needed my neckline, obviously. I needed my neckline. And I said for every kid's standard measurement, we use 2 inches. So I stood from my border line and measured inward 2 inches, downward 2 inches, to my right 2 inches, and then made a square out of the whole thing. I stood at this corner of my square and measured inward half an inch, and that is what I used to get my neckline. Okay. But then I realized that I also need my shoulder to proceed. So in getting the shoulder, I came to the end of my 5 inches and measured downward half an inch for the slant of my shoulder. So that is how I had the slant of the shoulder, just right here. From that point, I measured downward again for my armhole, which was 5 inches, and that is what I drew right here. But we know that the armhole isn't straight. It is definitely a curve. It is a curve. It can't be straight. So this straight line here is what is going to help us to get that particular curve. So in getting that curve, I said we will extend a 1 inch line outward at the end of our 5 inches right here. So that is the line I have extended here. This is the 1 inch line, okay? But I also mentioned that you would have to extend it more because of the allowance that we would need to add. But I still have my 1 inch mark here. So we are proceeding to get our armhole. So we are just going to divide our 5 into 2, which is going to give us 2.5. And this is my 2.5 mark here. You're going to measure inward 1/4. One quarter is just 2 strokes, okay? 2 strokes will give you 1/4. So that is it. And you are going to stand from this side, which gave you that half an inch, the end of the half inch, okay? You are going to start from there. And then you are going to gently curve your armhole to 1/4, the 1/4 mark over here. And you are going to proceed to the half inch here. And then you are going to meet it at the 1 inch down. I started right from here Then I moved to my 1/4, and then I proceeded to my 1/2 inch, and then I continued to my 1 inch. That is how you get the armhole. If your work looks a little bit messy like this, I think you should clean it. I'm just trying to make you understand my point here. But if you also have a French curve, there's no problem in using it. If you are good with your hand as well, make sure you are very careful so that your work becomes very neat and clear. So I'm done with that. I'm done with our neckline, I'm done with our shoulder, and then I'm done with our armhole. We're moving on to the bust. And I read out my shoulder to bust as 7. If I didn't, I'm saying it right now, okay? So we are using 7 inches for our shoulder to the bust level. This is where our shoulder is, and the bust level is going to be around here, just around here. So we are going to measure 7 inches for that, okay? This is where it's going to be, and then I'm just going to rule out a line from my border to the extension I made after my 1 inch over here. This is it. So I'm just going to do that right now. That is it. And also from our shoulder to our waist, because that is what we are using. We are having these bodies from our shoulder to our waist. That is where we're ending, okay? From our shoulder to our waist is 11 inches. So this is where my 11 inches is. I'm just going to draw that out immediately. And this is it. This is exactly it. We are almost through with the front of our bodice. This is it. Okay. Now we're going to continue by dividing our bust by 4. By dividing our bust by 4 to get that width around here, to get the width over here. And all what we are doing is related to quarter body measurements, because mostly the bust and the waist can be divided by 2, but here's the case where we are dividing it by 4, meaning we are using a quarter body measurement. So we are going to divide our bust by 2. The bust is 23 inches. So if we are going to divide that by 4, we are going to get 5 3/4 1/8. 5 3/4 1/8, okay? And we are just going to measure that on the bust line. Quarter 1/8. Okay, I've had that. So after marking out the end of your 5 3/4 1/8, whatever body measurement you are using, you are going to go out of that mark for your allowance. And the allowance that we are going to use is 2 inches. We are going to have 2 inches for our allowance on the bust line. Do same to your waist as well. The waist we have here is 19.5 inches. And if we are going to divide that 19.5 inches by 4, we are going to have 4 3/4 1/8. That is what we are using, 4 3/4 1/8. So we are going to measure out that as well on our waistline for 3/4 1/8. And this is what we have. From that mark that you make, which I am also doing here, you are going to measure an allowance of 2 inches, like what you did on the bust line. You're going to do exactly that, and then you are just going to connect everything toward the line that you extended from the 1 inch, this main line here, the one on the far top. So you're going to have it looking like this, and that is the end of it all. So we are going to have this as our front bodice. I'm going over again. First of all, you will have your 5 inches measurement as the division from your main measurement, which I used 10. I used 10, okay. So I divided my 10 into 2, giving me 5. So that is what I used for this horizontal line over here, for my neckline and then my shoulder. Then I came out with my neckline by measuring 2 inches here, 2 inches here, and 2 inches there to get my curve. Measured half an inch. Yes, so we are done with our front bodice block. So let's proceed with the back. So we're beginning with our borderline again. And it's not compulsory to always have a borderline. I'm just drawing this line because the edge of the paper I'm using is not straight. So to be able to have that horizontal effect, I am using my ruler and then my pencil to have a straight line drawn. With the back, we are going to have a zipper extension, and the measurement we are using for our zipper extension is 1 inch. And also, the zipper extension may vary depending on the type of garment you are sewing. So I'm measuring out the 1 inch and I'm going to draw it with my rule again. That is it. And I'm going to make sure it is exactly 1 inch. The interval between the lines is 1 inch. Apart from the zipper extension, another feature of the bodice block, which is going to make it different from the front bodice block, is the neckline. So with the front bodice block, we had our neckline as 2 inches horizontal, 2 inches downwards, and then we made a 4 box. But for this neckline of our back bodice block, we're going to have one part for 1 inch and the rest of the parts for 2 inches. So I'm demonstrating it right now. But first of all, we are going to begin with our 5 inches, which is for the back, because when I was starting, I said we are going to use the back to draw our horizontal line for the neckline before continuing. The full back was 10 inches and then we divided it by 2, giving me 5 inches. So that is what I'm going to mark from the end of the zip line right here. This is it. So this is where I am now starting my bodice block. This is where I'm starting my bodice block. We are going to start from the end of the line of the zipper extension. That's where you are going to start your 5 inches from. So I've placed my tape measure on the last line and I am marking my 5 inches right here. That is my 5 inches I have marked here. And I'm going to mark my neckline, which is 2 inches. With the front bodice block, the neckline measures 2 inches all round. But for this, we have 2 inches at one side, and then we are going to have 1 inch drawn vertically right here. And then we are going to have 2 inches here as well. Then you connect it. The reason we have one part to be 1 inch and the other part to be 2 inches because for the back bodice block, it is always higher than that of the front bodice block. The neckline of the back is always higher. When you look at most of your garments, you see that the back neckline is kind of high. It's mostly higher than that of the front bodice block. That is why we have 1 inch here and then 2 inches below. But for the front, we have 2 inches all round to make it look lower than that of the back bodice block. Alright, so I'm done explaining. Let's proceed. After making out your 1 inch, 2 inch vertical drawing, you are going to mark out your 1/2 inch for the neckline and then you connect. You have your French curve as well, you can do that. You can make that curve. You go on 1/2 inch at your shoulder mark for the slant of the shoulder. You're just going to mark out, have the same thing done. Okay. Measure your armhole. Which is 5 inches, as we did for the front bodice block. And then you measure here 1 inch, and I said you'd have to extend it because of the allowance you'd have to add on that side. You divide that 5 inches you had for the armhole into 2, giving me 2.5 right here. Then you are going to have a 1/4 measurement. This part also varies, okay? We can have it as 1/2 inch as well. So I'm marking 1/2 here at this corner for my armhole, and then I'm just going to connect it simply. If you have your French curve, that will also do for the armhole. That is it. This is just it. And now you're going to proceed normally, like we did to the front bodice block. You measure your shoulder to bust. This is where we normally stand to have the shoulder to bust or shoulder to waist measured. You stand at the topmost part of the shoulder, which is here, right here. That's where you stand to measure your shoulder to bust or shoulder to waist. So I'm having it measured, my shoulder to bust, which is 7. And then I'm continuing with my shoulder to waist, which is 11. So after having your shoulder to bust line drawn and then your shoulder to waist line drawn, you're going to measure the width between before the allowance. So I said mine was 5 3/4 1/8. 5 3/4 1/8 is what I'm measuring. And then I have my 2 inches drawn. Marked, sorry. Then I come to my waistline and have the same measurement I measured for the waist of the front bodice block right here on the waistline. Then you mark out your 2 inches for allowance and then you connect. Very simple. Very, very simple. So apart from the neckline and then the zipper extension, there's really nothing that makes the back bodice block different from the front, if the style you are sewing is as simple as this. So this is it. I'm done. Very simple. And I've written out my back and then my zipper extension right here. So this is all for the basic block. I hope you found everything easy. If you didn't, the comment section is always there. Just type whatever you didn't understand and I'll surely answer you.